do it every year. It's like, oh, this team got beat here, so they didn't deserve X, Y, Z.
We deserve to be ranked higher, and we want some respect.
I would love to antagonize people and egg some people on and see what kind of chaos we can have in the stands.
FCS Fans Nation. Let's quote an FCS Gold member, Chris. His question this week: is it just me, or is it time for conference play to start? The answer, Chris, is yes, because out of conference has ended. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FCS Fans Nation podcast, season 9, episode 7. Conference play awaits. Jamie Williams, Matt Frazee, a duo tonight, a combination, as the great Kyler has real life impacts. But wait, didn't we quote on here, Jamie, that we would have ourselves a special guest? Maybe a hint if we're watching on YouTube or ad-free.
Yeah, I think we need to throw the signal up and see if we can throw the signal up and see if we can get anybody to show up.
What is the signal? It is the revving motorcycle. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage. Welcome to the pod.
I'm here.
Rev.
Hey,
Rev, everyone was curious.
Answer the call.
And not everybody's watching through their screens. You put out a tweet. There was 3 different shirts you were going to wear tonight, and you landed on Howard.
Howard. They deserve it. The beating up on the other HU, absolutely deserve it. So
I know you're a big Bison guy, so I'm glad you're able to represent the Howard Bison strong. No, seriously, we're lucky to have you, Rev, as our triplet tonight. And welcome again, folks, to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. Some housekeeping items. The FCS Survivor Pool still rolling. We only lost 1 individual out of the pool this week because of non-selection. Remember, the deadline's always Friday at midnight. A winner of this competition is going to win a $50 Visa gift card. We have 26 people that still remain. And Taco King, he put a question in this week. He said, how lucky is the Taco King for surviving yesterday with Illinois State getting the win in overtime? There were multiple people that would have been gone. We would have been below 20 folks if Illinois State had lost, Jamie.
Well,
what do you think?
You know what, though, Matt?
Yo.
At least he picked, and all those people picked an FCS versus FCS matchup. Like, the spirit of this thing has been absolutely ruined by all you knuckleheads picking against an FCS team against a sub D1. Just pick against a Pioneer or something. This sub D1 crap is awful.
You know, I picked North Carolina Central, and I forgot they were playing a D2 team in NCAA, and so I apologize. I did ruin the spirit of that, so I'm sorry.
Hey, I counter Jamie. I counter Kyler. It's survival. It's not pride pool. We're not being proud that we're having FCS versus FCS. We're trying to survive.
Next year, I'm setting a rule. You have to pick FCS versus FCS. That's the spirit of it.
We will debate it in the offseason, which can be far away because we're getting into out of conference play, guys. Housekeeping sponsored by Renegade. Again, the link is in the description below, as is FCS Gold. I really don't want to hesitate. The questions tonight are great. We got the Rev on here. I want to get right into it, and I'm really, really excited to see what you guys have to say about what the fans have dropped for us this week.
What are FCS fans talking and posting about nonstop? It's time for the top 6 topics of the week.
Okay, a hot one. This is the type of question, starting with Taco King, where most people would hear this question and go, it kind of seems like on the top 6 topics, this is like the 5th or 6th one that wraps it up. But we're going to kick in hot right away with Taco King's question. He keeps it simple. He goes, after out of conference play, is there really 25 teams deserving of top 25 rankings? Heck, make that even 10. Now, before we get into what is the popular Twitter thing, and I know Rev kind of leads the charge on this, I'm just going to go through a few things, and I'm going to let you guys, you gentlemen, go at it. I kind of am questioning kind of the hate on the top 25 talk of like not worthy or who is. Let's take the ideology of NDSU, SDSU, and whatever Montana you think is good this year. Let's take them out. And you're telling me through the rest of that crew that if that is your top, right? Because those are outliers. They're like a Jamie Williams on a scale of attractiveness 1 to 10. He's at 11. You don't count them. You go 1 through 10. Okay. Teams number 4 through 25. You're telling me that right now people think there's just not teams worthy of enough to round out a good top 25 when I can see Rhode Island's still undefeated. Lehigh, undefeated. Tennessee Tech playing great football. Southern Illinois behind DJ Williams, 4 touchdowns, getting to 3-1 the other day. I know North Dakota's 1-2, but they haven't looked bad in their wins. South Dakota maybe turned some things around. Teams like West Georgia are playing well. You've got Abilene Christian maybe is going to bounce back. And even the ones that you think aren't great, that you don't even really talk about this year. How about UC Davis? How about Idaho? They're not playing horrible ball. I think there's plenty on the plate for a top 25. I wanted to get my words out first to maybe counter the easy answer. Jamie, you're the stats voter. Go. What do you got?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like you look at it, you're just like, I don't feel like there's 25 teams deserving. And I'm not sure that there are, but at the same time, there's still when you go 128 teams, there's still a hierarchy of somebody's 1, somebody's 2, somebody's 15, somebody's 25. So yeah, I mean, while it doesn't feel like it, and it gets difficult once you get down past about 12 or 13, it is difficult. You from about there on to 40ish. There's a lot of teams that are pretty even and pretty far behind those above them. How it kind of feels. You have things like Monmouth, who I've been waiting to see some defense from them. Still haven't really seen it, but with an offense like that, it's going to carry them through a lot of games until they get Sam Houston in the the quarters or something like that. But an offense like that can carry you for a while. So looking at teams like that, it's just, I mean, you can say take out the North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State, whoever else you want to take out. But those are still the top teams overall. Well, maybe Montana State. We'll see. They're doing some things that are interesting, but maybe we'll get there later. But then, they're just our tiers, and you have to understand that there are tiers. So when you get past the top
question, that's my question. Push on you, Jamie and Rev. I'll do the same thing. Okay, is tier 1 the definer? Like, okay, we always are going to go off of the Dakotas to define that a top 25 shouldn't exist? Because who would predict the semifinals right now if the Dakotas if the tier 1 didn't exist? Put it that way. If tier 1 didn't exist, who could nail the semifinals? I think very few people. And that means that doesn't that mean that there's plenty of teams capable of coming in and being top 25 worthy?
Sure, right.
Yeah, I would say... Yeah, so I think you have a point there, right? Like there's a top tier. This is a very bourgeois sort of view because you have the teams that have historically been the best. You see the same thing in the FBS when it comes to making polls early in the season. You're going to look at the historic strong teams and have them be your top tier. And right now the top tier is North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and the Montanas. Tarleton's up there right now too, but we can talk a little more about them as well. So yes, you have to have that as your baseline. You really do. And that's going to help. That's going to help define everything else.
Taco King's thing is like, NDSU could just,
well,
man, they suck. But like, are you going to, that doesn't, because NDSU could kill everybody probably. That doesn't mean that there's not teams that are good. They're just, that's an outlier.
I mean, I could weigh 185 pounds tomorrow too, right? Like, NDSU could beat everybody. They can also lose. It's always any given Saturday in FCS football. You see weird stuff that happens. Now, right now, do they look the best? Yeah, they look the best. Have they done what they're supposed to do during their out-of-conference schedule against some pretty soft teams? Yes, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. But Brian's question comes from a view of aristocracy a bit. And to ask the question, are there 25 teams worth ranking right now? The answer is now, yes, there are. Last week, maybe not. Week before, maybe not. That's why you shouldn't have polls until now. And lets me tie into
oh man, he got it in.
Yeah. This is why, because you need the data behind it. You need to say, okay, preseason, yeah, we think NDSU's 1, SCSU's 2, Montana State's 3. Preseason is great. Hold on to those rankings for 3 or 4 weeks. Then shift it up once you have the data points behind it. And that's it. Because who would have thought Tarleton would have been a top 14? Who would have thought West Georgia would be in the top 25? Who would have thought Presbyterian would be undefeated, although to be fair, they're gonna screw up at some point. But I think yes, you have to set a baseline. And right now, the Dakota schools, Montana schools are the baseline, and then everybody else is a variable.
Jamie, did you find it easier this week to do a top 25 or a little more difficult? Where did your emotions go from the last 2 weeks?
I haven't done it yet, but as I look at this, the results as yesterday started kind of rolling in, you can kind of see teams slotting in about where they need to be. Like you see Incarnate Word slotting out. And a lot of people thought they were a top 5 team, myself included, to coming in, and it just hadn't played out that way. Although I'll say EJ Colson looked a lot better. West Georgia shot up the board. I mean, but then you got a team like Lehigh. They're sitting right about where I thought they would. Solid enough, but what are they going to get out of the Patriot League? We'll see. Rhode Island, solid enough, doing what they need to do. They're playing kind of Rhode Island football where they're never going to blow anybody out. So if you're looking for style points, Rhode Island ain't your team. So just move on there. I mean, Tarleton is just spanking everybody so far. Mm-hmm. I think as they get into the depth of their schedule, it's really going to be interesting to see how they do in the UAC, because I think that's going to be a really competitive conference. Got a lot of good offenses. You got some not as good defenses. Goodness gracious, come on, Fitz. And there's just a lot of things to like about some teams, but every team has their flaws, and I think that's the issue. Outside of a top few that don't really, I don't know that NDSU has a flaw. South Dakota State, you've seen a little bit of flaw from them. Montana State, you've seen flaw. I'm not sure you've seen flaw from Montana or Tarleton. Idaho's looked pretty good. So, I mean, we could just go down the list and find things that we like about a lot of teams, but then you can turn on the flip side and say, oh, if there's a few things you don't like about these teams, but that's where the inconsistency comes in and why somebody like NDSU is where they are and other teams are where they are. So, I think it's going to start coming into focus. It's not that I disagree with Rev's point about the week 4, because you really don't know what a team is until you have those data points. So those preseason polls and the early polls are certainly talking points. But then the unfortunate part about it is you get to the talking point where people don't pay attention, and you have things like South Dakota at 12 and Lamar not ranked, and after a week, Nichols 10 spots behind UIW. And I get the projection stuff, and I don't like that too much, but I understand it. But you got to use a little bit of common sense. And now those head-to-head matchups, as you get data points, head-to-head becomes a tiebreaker and not a definer. So you could have, in theory, South Dakota ahead of Lamar. But if you've got South Dakota 18 and Lamar 19, nope, you got to flip that, because that's got to be your tiebreaker. That's my philosophy.
Good insight from a stats voter, I tell you what, and one of the best, if not the best out there. Okay, so you guys have hinted at this a little bit, and coming in hot here is Tim and Zach. Tim says, I'm sorry, Cody and Eric. We'll get to Tim and Zach on question 3. Cody and Eric say, Montana struggled against Mercyhurst and at times this season to get their offense going. Is this something to worry about going forward, says Cody. And Eric says, should Montana State be worried about their offense going into conference play? So to tee this one up, we're kind of talking about the Bobcats and the offense. Maybe a little unfair right off the bat because what the offense was like last year, which was insane. Basically top 3 or 5 in everything. But here you go. If Montana State wants to stack up against these 2 big ones, it's what they're going to care about. Schedule and opponents are going to impact what I'm about to say, but here it is. Montana State passing offense in the FCS right now is 40th. Rushing offense 43rd. Total offense 34th. Okay. South Dakota State passing offense 60th. Rushing offense 21st. Total offense 29th. North Dakota State passing offense 9th. Rushing offense 10th. Total offense 4th. Probably gets skewed because of opponents like Oregon and head-to-head, South Dakota State, Montana State, and weak stuff for the Bison. But for Montana State specifically, nothing top 25-ish. So, okay, not Kyler. What do you think about the Bobcats after out-of-conference play?
I think people need to not worry so much right now. I'm being 100% honest, right? Look at their schedule. They played a top team in South Dakota State, right? They played them really close. They got their FBS loss. They got their bag going to go do that. And then they played Mercyhurst, and Mercyhurst is not as weak of a team as people think they are. Yeah, they I think they've got one win so far, but they hung in with Sacramento State up until the very end of that game. They've hung in all the games that they played. They've got a great quarterback in Urania. So I think people need to quit looking at gut and going, who the hell is Mercyhurst, right? And realize that Mercyhurst has actually got a good squad that there's not much tape on until, now. So, no, I don't think – I feel like this is the same question that is kind of being or was being asked by some South Dakota State fans before the season started, because you have a lot of change. You've lost Tommy Malott. You've lost, a lot of your studs that you had last year. But Montana State had great backups. They weren't just a one-tier sort of offense. So I think people, I'm going to say this a few times on different topics, but I think the Montana State freak out, you need to pump the brakes on just a little bit. Okay, it's the end of September. Montana State has done what was expected of them. I didn't think they'd beat South Dakota State. They didn't, right? They beat Mercyhurst. Sure, they didn't cover the spread. Okay, that's fine. The only person who cares are Vegas bettors, right? I would see, when you get into conference play, it's a different animal. It's a different beast. You have a different fire in you because of what's at stake. So I would worry once they get into their conference slate, if you feel their offense is not performing, but being in the top, I guess they're not top, third, but still being, 40th where they are, it's not terrible, especially given the fact that they do have an FBS game in there as well. So maybe just slow down a little bit, guys.
Yeah, they're not a bad team whatsoever. It depends on how Montana State fans view themselves. I've said it a million times. When I watched when JMU was in the FCS, I'd watch the Bison and go, I don't care what's happening in this week 4 game. How would have that looked against James Madison? Like, fair or not, as a Bison fan, you're looking at a semifinal and championship matchup. And if the Bobcats feel like they're in that range, then they're probably viewing what they're doing. How would it look against South Dakota State? How would it look against North Dakota State? If they're worried about Big Sky competition that's coming up for them against Idaho State, hosting Eastern Washington, others, they probably shouldn't be worried about anything. Now, when the margins are slim and it's get to Frisco or win in Nashville, sorry, I just literally put the championship in 2 different places, but we're live, so that happens. That's where maybe you could see some concerns. Are these going to be patterns or are these growing pains? Doesn't seem to me like you should freak out since you've played Oregon and South Dakota State. Oh, and I'm sorry. You played San Diego and you beat the living pants off them, and San Diego has given people trouble. So you beat them 41-7. So 1 17-point win against Mercyhurst. I'm not going to overthink it. So I'm with the Rev on this. I don't know how Jamie feels, though.
I'm not going to overthink it. I do feel like they are a little bit more methodical with the offense this year.
Yeah, shut out Mercyhurst, which is a good comment, actually.
Yeah. I mean, they did shut out Mercyhurst. If you look at it, I feel like yesterday's game plan was just be methodical. It wasn't a bad offensive performance. It's what you would expect from Montana State almost from a macro standpoint. A little bit of passing, 200 yards rushing, just under 6 yards a carry. So from that standpoint, it was fine. I think the fans are looking for more explosion, but both teams had 6 possessions yesterday.
Yeah, that's wild.
And it's wild. So they were kind of slogging it down. And I mean, and if you really want to talk about it, Mercyhurst had drives of 32, 65, 83, 9, 58, and 56 yards. So they actually moved the ball in that defense. I know that there was a shutout because there was a couple of turnovers, but I just don't think Montana State right now is a top 4 team. But they might be a top 8 team. And we'll see when they get into Big Sky play. They've got Northern Arizona in a couple weeks. So let's measure them from a Big Sky standpoint then. I mean, the narrative would be much different had they finished off South Dakota State. I feel like,
sure.
They have that win. It's a lot different. You look at 17-0. I mean, you're like, oh, yeah, they shut them out. Then you look at, oh, well, they gave up a lot. They didn't get hardly anything 3 and out. Offense, they only scored 17, but they still ran for well over 200. They ran for 6 yards a carry. I think you got to just wait and see. But if they're calling these like lessons, like these are cheap lessons because they're winning these games. And you got to give them credit for scheduling South Dakota State, but San Diego, which is they're plucky, whatever. Marleyhurst, they're plucky and frisky, whatever. But they need to. Let's just wait. Give me 2 more weeks, and I'll tell you what Montana State really is. And maybe it's the same thing that we're used to seeing, just a little bit lower level, because touchdown Tommy Malott is special. He was a special player at the FCS level. You can't just replace that, even if the guy was a record holder at Stanford. So just, I agree with the pump the brakes, but do it with just a modicum of caution to see if it's just a more methodical offense, or what are they doing once they get into Big Sky play? I mean, love Kyler, miss Kyler, but they should be pretty healthy this week against Eastern Washington.
Montana State fans, and no offense to y'all that are live watching, because I appreciate that, but the way you're looking at this, you remind me of like helicopter hockey parents, right? Because if you were to look at this game, the 17-0, you'd be like, positives, negatives, you only scored 17 on Mercyhurst. You ignore the fact that your defense played well, that your defense, pitched a shutout. Ron's right, 100% right. So I think just step back a little bit. Just, wait until conference play happens. To Jamie's point, wait 2 more weeks before you start freaking out. That's it.
Agree. If to answer the question, should they be worried? Maybe against the big dogs, but not so much, we think, right now against the Big Sky and some of the opponents they're going to see in the next couple weeks. Okay, everybody's favorite conference, the CAA. Now it's time for Tim and Zach. I apologize for early call. Tim says, what's going on in the CAA? Are Rhodey and Monmouth the teams to beat, or are early season schedules skewing some teams' records? And then Zach says, is Monmouth for real, or did they just spotlight how bad Villanova is this season? Jamie Williams, you're taking on your Dukes. Were dooming Liberty this week. You're out there on the East Coast, so why don't we start with you about the CAA, your beloved old conference? What's going on with them, dude?
What's going on is kind of what I thought I would see to a certain degree, where Rhode Island's going to win a lot of games. They're not going to do it with a lot of style, and that's exactly what they've done. They're 4-0. They deserve to be 4-0. They've had some slow starts but finished it off. Monmouth, the reason I didn't rank Monmouth until I will be ranking them this week is I wanted to see some defense from them. And maybe that was short-sighted on my part, for when you have an offense that good, that that should say something for your ranking. So I'll make that correction this week. I think everybody knows I didn't like Villanova at all coming into the season. I mean, if you had your eyes on our chat, Rev liked Pat McQuaid a lot better than I do. I think Pat McQuaid has been pretty good, especially for what I expected. But I still don't love Villanova. But they might be able to score a little bit more than I thought. New Hampshire, yesterday's game is kind of a microcosm of them. They're just right there, but just not quite enough. Then you got a team like William and Mary. They're not going to have much horsepower. Townsend, I thought, might be able to take a jump. I mean, they had that game won, I felt like, against Youngstown, didn't do it. Stony Brook was a freaking 2.5-point favorite and was down 27-3 at halftime. Great fight back to only lose 30-27. But I needed you to score another touchdown to win me some money, just for in theory. But I thought Stony Brook would be a little bit better. I thought they looked great the second half. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's Rhode Island and then that Villanova Monmouth, and then nobody else is really that good overall.
And so I like this comment from Captain. He goes, Monmouth in 2025 looking like vintage Eastern Washington. Points, and more points. And can that survive? Can that maintain against Rhode Island and others? Rev, I'm interested to see what you think here about the CAA. Are they, they've been, again, I'm just calling out generic Twitter things that are fun, which is there's not worthy of a top 25. Let's do this one. The CAA just stinks. They're horrible. Any counter argument to that? Or are you going to steer in there, Rev?
I don't know. I can't get Flow Sports to work. But no, like All seriousness, I would flip flop a couple. I think Monmouth is going to own Rhode Island when they play. If they play,
They don't.
Whoa.
They don't. I'll see. Okay, there you go. They don't.
Monmouth has the Charmin schedule of the CAA, and that's saying something.
Well, so you're getting to my point. So thanks. The CAA is very smart in how they do their conference scheduling. I don't know if any of you guys have caught on to this because it's now become effectively watching a rerun. They effectively pick teams that they want to see go in the playoffs, and they do give them the 10-ply schedule, if you will. So it looks like Monmouth is getting that boost this year. But Derek Robertson's been a stud of a quarterback. He's got to be a Peyton Award finalist if he keeps up the stats that he's putting that he's doing. But I think as the season goes on, I don't know if Rhode Island's offense is going to be enough to sustain them. Their defenses look good, surprisingly, and they are doing roadie, no frills football, right? It is,
Guess what their CAA schedule looks like?
Is it?
It's softer than Monmouth's.
I was going to say, is it cotton candy? It's cotton candy?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Roadies, and to that point, Roadies going to be dependable, right? They're like driving your little Kia Sorrento to get groceries. Monmouth, I think Monmouth and Rhodey will be your two teams from the CAA. I don't think the CAA will get more than that. They might get a third, but that would be it. I don't think we're going to see a year like last year where they got, as 5 and they all got knocked out in the first round or second round. It's the CAA doing what the CAA does. The CAA loves to build up their schedule. They love to basically pick who they want to see in the playoffs. They give them the softest ass schedule on the planet, and then they do it. And then when it gets time for, put up or shut up, they don't put up in the playoffs. So you can go ahead and clip this now because this is what's going to happen in late November, early December. You won't see a CAA team past the second round. They will all be knocked out.
Dang. Oh man, I can't wait to see a TikTok from Monmouth's social media team when they upset someone in the quarters.
Hey, Monmouth, I'm rooting for you, but I love what you're doing, but again, no, because you're doing what the CAA does every year.
Eventually, Monmouth's going to run into a team with a defense that will have a game plan for Derek Robertson. And if you remember the Colgate game, they had to have a huge comeback, and he threw 4 picks. So they're going to sling it, and they're going to take the good with the bad. And just so far, it's been more good than bad for him. And I get that, like Rev saying he should be a finalist for the Peyton. And maybe he should. It's just hard for me sometimes when it's all about volume.
But that's what the Peyton is.
Not
right?
to me.
I know not to you.
I know.
But to look at every other Peyton winner for the most part, there's a couple exceptions. But look at some of the folks who won. It's just because of volume. It was quantity over quality when it comes to being frustrating. Award winning. And I say that as someone who had a quarterback who won, and he was quantity over quality. So that's fine. But I realize I insulted Monmouth, and there's probably some teamster from Jersey outside my house right now waiting for me for whenever we get off this. So
yeah,
too good.
Tony is out there,
ready.
He's gonna get the gabagool and come after me.
Rev, I'm glad you're on for this podcast for your own question. And I mean that sincerely. I do. And I'm going to give you a reason why. So before Rev knew he was coming on here, of course, he's a great FCS Gold member for 99 cents a month. And he says, did Tarleton prove they're the real deal this year yesterday? If you didn't see, Tarleton's starting quarterback went out and they replaced him with a 6'5" monster who just kept the whole thing going. To answer your one question here, though, you say, how bad is UCA? UCA is bad, so we're going to bypass that. UCA, as Jamie would say, stinks this year. Nathan Brown should not survive. Tarleton beats them 39-14. Missouri spanks them. They get a win over Arkansas Pine Bluff, and Tarleton beats them. And yeah, just really bad for UCA. Now, back to Tarleton. Here's why I'm interested in your take there, Rev, because I love our good friend up at the FBS level, Brandon Owens. But Brandon Owens was famous for one take within the FCS. The second, a Southern team that might look good enough to beat the Dakotas, he was all in on those teams. All in. He's like, that team. He got it once. Sam Houston pulled it off in the COVID year. Okay? And then you have Brian Thompson. And I love Brian, even though I skipped lunch with him. And Brian's like, I don't care what you say. The Bison are beating that team. Not good enough. They're not good enough. Rev, what I like about you is
But Brian thinks NDSU would beat the Bills.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
How good was Wyoming's strength of schedule when Josh Allen was on it? Can we use that as an argument? I think we could. But what I like about Rev is he's right in the middle. He's willing to stand on things. But for the most part, you get this good common sense argument. So enough complimenting the Rev. Let's hear it. Let's hear from down south, those type of conferences, stuff you know about. Give us your Tarleton take right now.
Right now? If the season plays out like it does,
Tarleton's are they for real of where their ranking is now?
No, if they keep doing what they're doing, I think the only team in the UAC that I would be worried about for them is probably West Georgia at this point, because they are just absolutely buzzsawing folks, and I hate saying nice things about Tarleton. They are the worst broke ass Aggies on the planet, but they're doing what they need to do. So now they go through their season, they make it in the playoffs. They're going to be a second seed. They go undefeated with the FBS win over Army. They will be the number 2 seed. And then the question flips, okay? Because normally it's, okay, you get these other teams who have to go play in the Fargo Dome or have to go play in Brookings, or have to go play in Montana, right? You see Incarnate Words show up and practice with their shirts off in the end zone before the game, and you see that they're going to lose because they're doing stupid stuff like that. Now it flips. Now you have a team like South Dakota State or a team like Montana State who has to come to Stephenville and play. And so the question comes back, are the northern teams good enough to beat Tarleton at home? Tarleton, who can bring in a crowd. They brought in 21,000 for this game this past weekend. Tarleton, whose stadium can get loud because of how it's built. It's not Wagras, but it is definitely a very loud venue because of the way they built it. So I think to answer my own question, the fact I was worried when Adonis, as I call him, Victor Gabals, because that dude has got some flowing hair. I was worried when he got injured, but the fact that their backup came in and just absolutely buzzsawed through that game. In fact, they got Trey Page at running back, who is just a beast, and he's a freshman. Yeah, I think they are the real deal. I think they're worthy of being voted as a top 2 team right now, and I think they'll go undefeated through the UAC. The only way that they are going to lose is if they trip over their own stirrups. And that's the thing, because they're the Texans and their mascots the Cowboys. So that's the only thing that's going to happen to them. Okay. There's not a team in the United Athletic Conference, I think, that actually has the ability to keep up with them right now, because the ones that you think that would have shown a lot of vulnerability. Abilene Christian showed vulnerability against SFA. Although Patterson's a great coach, he managed to adjust, but they still almost gave that game away. Central Arkansas sucks out loud, right? Eastern Kentucky doesn't look that great. They've lost players. Austin P, man, everybody was excited about Austin P getting their dub, but then look what happened. They went to Abilene and didn't show. I don't want to say they didn't show up, but they got beat by Abilene Christian and Abilene. The only team that I think has the legs to keep up with Tarleton right now is West Georgia, because West Georgia is built on one thing, and that is speed. So, but West Georgia also isn't eligible for the playoffs. So it really is Tarleton's conference to win. But as of now, yes, they are the real deal. Jamie will probably disagree with me, but I feel dirty after complimenting them. I'm going to go burn all the clothes I'm wearing because I complimented them. But yeah, they are the real deal right now.
The question would be, I'll throw this. You weren't here, Rev, so South Dakota State, they beat NDSU in Brookings, and South Dakota State then gets upset by UND, and NDSU had beat UND. So NDSU, SDSU, they're both one-loss teams. They share the Missouri Valley Conference title. Tarleton is undefeated and has your FBS win over Army. Strength of schedule, let's say Tarleton is 12 spots below the other two, roughly. Is Tarleton a 1 or 2 seed in that situation?
I think they're still a 2. I think recency bias is going to play in to that a bit. I still think they're a 2. I think 2 is the best they're going to get unless there's some multiple loss Dakota State teams, and that's not happening.
All right. Jamie, you going to counter the Rev or what?
You know how I went out after Tarleton last year because I didn't think they were as good as people were making them out to be, and this year they absolutely are. I mean, like you said, Victor Gavalis goes out and Davis Greek comes in, and he's a lot better than the times he had to come in last year. They've got a balanced team. Even without Kayvon Britton, they've still got a few guys that can run the ball. Now, they didn't stop the run very well yesterday, which is something they've been doing this year. So I'll be interested to see how that works out into UAC play. Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely for real. They're a very balanced team on both sides of the ball. They do have a solid kicker. They got a defense that can turn you over and in general stop the run, but yesterday they stopped the pass. Gosh, I hate heaping praise on Tarleton, but what have they done that says they shouldn't get this praise? I mean, they're number 3 and should be. They're gonna, if they run the table, they're the 2. I mean, that's just what it is. They're the 2 if they run the table. I think Abilene Christian is probably the team that could give them the fits. With West Georgia, we'll see. Abilene Christian, though, as you can see, the West Georgia game's at home, so that might swing that. They got to go to Abilene. Stone Earl looked really good yesterday in a ranked matchup against Austin P. As Kevin said, sometimes a quarterback named Stone that can actually be athletic. As he took a shot as his co-host.
Oh wow!
Maybe Stone Earl's the second best trash talker quarterback named Stone. Wow. So yeah, Kevin took a nice little shot there. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I like Abilene. I mean, they play Southern Utah next after a bye, and I'd love to say that the T-Birds can go in there and win that game, but they haven't stopped anything on defense, unfortunately. Now they'll score, but so will Tarleton, and they'll get a couple stops and potentially, maybe a turnover. So that one I was hoping would be looking like it's going a different way, but they need some work for Mr. John Kelling's defense in Cedar City. But yeah, I mean, Tarleton, I don't want to get off of that topic. It's going to be hard to beat them. I mean, obviously NDSU could beat darn near anybody in any type of game, but South Dakota State coming down to Stephenville, maybe so. Maybe that's a game with Tarleton can get with the balance that they have.
It's going to be fun to play out. You guys seem very certain of Tarleton at this point, and that leads into a great next question, which is it's from Zach, our good friend down there at Incarnate Word. Which team are you most uncertain about after this week? So we're getting out of conference play. He sees a team that could be good or bad, but their games so far have been mixed signals. Is there FBS loss impacts, weak D2 or D3 wins, etc.? Who are we uncertain about? And I'm really proud of what I found. So I rarely do this, but as the host, I'm going to go first. Okay? I'm going to do it. Because yesterday, I cannot believe they actually lost. I have to go with Idaho. How could we not be uncertain about the Vandals at this point? Listen to Idaho's rundown. Washington State, the Washington State Jackrabbits, who stink. 13-10, they lose to them, but it is an FBS loss, okay? St. Thomas, 37-30 victory at home. Utah Tech, 20-6 victory at home. And San Jose is a bad Mountain West team, 31-28. I get there's 2 FBSs in there, but those are like some of the worst FBSs. They are awful. So I don't know. I'm very uncertain that Idaho is going to be a playoff team or remotely anything special if they hit that first round. So I'm sorry, Chris Hammond. I love you. Big hugs and beers in Nashville, but I'm very uncertain about your Vandals at this point. Not Kyler. Who do you have some uncertain feelings about?
I've got a couple. One's my own team, honestly. One is SFA. I don't know what the hell we're seeing out of them. Jekyll and Hyde type performances against certain teams. We talked about Abilene Christian, 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, and then the wheels fell off for the second and third quarter with bad penalties, bad play, and then they get a punt return to make it close at the end of the game. Right? They play Sol Ross, who that doesn't matter. They're the most effed up athletic department in the state of Texas right now, and they're sub D1, so who cares? But then they played Cal Poly last night. Cal Poly's not a good team, and they beat them by 18. But SFA was one that a lot of folks, including myself, were saying, hey, this is one of the teams that could win the Southland Conference. They don't look like that now. They, you've got some great players. Like you got Kylon Harris, you got Sam Vidlak, you got Wembley, you've got the stuff there. It's just, I don't know what isn't connecting to make them play as well as they should. I have one other team that I'm very uncertain about, and I've kind of touched on this a little bit. I'm not certain on the University of Rhode Island. I know Jamie says that they're going to play, Rhode Island ball, but my uncertainty with them came after that game against Holy Cross, 9-7, and we're still ranking y'all as a top 10 team. I know they've got a soft schedule, but what happens when they stumble on that schedule? So those are the two teams that I'm uncertain about right now. And there's Tarleton's a certain team. Lamar, I'm pretty certain about right now also. So, but I don't know who Jamie has, so I don't want to maybe steal his thunder with any of these. So I'll let Jamie go.
For me, I think it's going to have to be Illinois State. And Kyler doesn't like them, so he might have them clocked. I thought they were a little bit better. But even like Rittenhouse was okay yesterday, but it took double overtime to beat North Alabama, and that's because they stoinked an extra point at the end, which would have won the game for North Alabama, and then they bounce back and they have a chance to kick a game-winning field goal, and it gets blocked, and then they both score in overtime, and then they get the stop and 2 OT there. It's just, but then you look at Eastern Illinois, not a good team, got hammered by Indiana State, and Illinois State 42-30, 41-13 against Moorhead. Who cares against Illinois State? I mean, they've got a bye week before they play NDSU. I don't think the bye is going to help them do it. I just don't. I don't know what to think about Illinois State. I kind of had them in the top 10 because it felt like they're a top 10 team, but I kind of feel like they're probably a 12-18 team for real. So I'll probably be making that adjustment. But they just didn't give me a whole lot to say, oh, yeah, that team's really good. I mean, they've got Daniel Sobkowicz. I'm not Polish, so I don't know how to say that. Daniel Sobkowicz is probably how you say that. 10 for 150 and 2 touchdowns. He's the real deal. And you can tell that when Tommy Rittenhouse needs to make a play, that's where he's going to go with the ball. So teams are going to look to take that away from him and make somebody else beat them. And it's probably going to work. Obviously, it'll work versus NDSU. It doesn't matter against Murray State, but I mean, they still got to play at South Dakota State as well. Youngstown's sneaky good. They might be able to sneak themselves into the rankings here in the next week or so. But yeah, kind of concerned and not sure what Illinois State really is. And maybe they've told us what they are, and I just need to believe them.
Jamie, I'm going to let you just keep rolling because, boy, sometimes you guys just hit transition points. And it's just beautiful within the previous question. And Dan comes to us and he says, who in the top 25 has had a sneaky good out of conference? We all know about Tarleton and Incarnate Words, who have gone boom or bust and mostly out of conference early games. But who in the top 25 has had a sneaky good run and can move up when conference play begins? You kind of just said
sneaky good
Youngstown State. Is that where you want to steer into, Jamie, or got a few others?
That is a good one, but I think I just want to take a quick look to make sure I believe myself. I think I'm kind of going to go with UC Davis to a certain degree. Better than I thought they were, and maybe that's a bad answer because, they played Washington. The Mercer cancellation, the way they were up on that and let them come back doesn't look as good with Mercer not being as good, but they were up in most of that game. They were down in most of the game against Utah Tech, but they showed a lot of fight. And then last night, 14 yards per carry. 14 for a whole game. And we're not talking 3 or 4 carries. They just could not be stopped by the Southern Utah defense. And obviously, and Southern Utah got their point. So I'm sneaky higher on UC Davis now than I was prior to the season. So That's the reason. That's why I go there. The results, maybe not. Oh yeah, that was great. But from what I thought of them before to what I think of them now, I think they're one of those teams. And then yeah, I'll definitely say Youngstown State. Just enough where Youngstown State's going to be on the bubble. I don't think they've really got a chance to really win a first round game. Well, I won't say that because they could like a Rhode Island, in which case they could go in there and win that. You never know. But they've put themselves kind of in the bubble conversation to me. So those are a couple of teams I'm looking at.
Very cool. I'm going to rinse, wash, repeat from last week. I like Southern Illinois, and I think their win yesterday, against SEMO, which is actually a pretty good defensive line.
And the way they run it.
The way they run the ball. Williams is playing great ball. And it talks about at the end of this question from Dan about when conference play begins, can they rise? Made the point last week. They'll beat Indiana State next week or on October 4th after the bye. And then, probably going to lose at North Dakota State. But then they host UND, and from there, it's Northern Illinois, Murray State, Youngstown. They host South Dakota. They go to Illinois State. So they're going to have to win some of those those uncertainties you talk about, those Illinois States, those others. But I think the way Southern Illinois is playing with the better quarterback play than some of these other teams, I think that's a quiet 3-1 team that gave Purdue some fits and could actually rise up a little bit and fight for one of those higher seeds into that 10 to 12 range. So, Rev, and the top 6 topics. Who's sneaky, buddy? You're setting up for Halloween. You're getting sneaky, scary things set up. So, who is it?
Well, you guys have hit mine, right? Southern Illinois, UT Davis, Youngstown. But I'm going to throw in a couple ones that maybe not sneaky or maybe not sneaky good, but teams that have not looked like what I thought they would. I'm going to shout out first the Fighting Deshaun Jacksons in Delaware State, right? I mean,
great call.
Yeah, great. I mean, come on. They hung. I mean, against Delaware, they lost, but they actually covered this, or they were within the spread. So got to shout them out there. But then they beat Albany's looked awful, but still it's a win that nobody expected for them to get. But I think the true litmus test is going to come when they play North Carolina Central and South Carolina State. But definitely Delaware State used to be a team that looked so frowned upon, so almost just completely broke. And then you bring in Deshaun Jackson and look what's going on. I mean, look at the transfers they pulled because they have Deshaun Jackson in their coaching. So that's going to be one of my shout outs. My other one is going to be Lamar. Lamar has had a great out of conference. They beat Aiden Bauman and the Trash Puppies of South Dakota. But they went in, they've handled their games, and now they've done it with their backup quarterback because they did it with Aiden McCown of the famous McCown family. And by famous, if you follow Sunbelt football or CUSA football, you know who Josh McCown and Luke McCown are. So, those are my 2 picks outside of the ones that were already mentioned, because those were, when I saw the question, those were the ones that my first thought went to. So thanks guys. But that's what I have so far.
I'd say you rebounded just fine because those picks were pretty great.
I left Lamar thinking that's where you were going to go no matter what. So.
I didn't want to be a conference homer.
It's not. It's not when it's true. I mean, Pete Rosamondo. I mean, I've sung his praises on your show and mine.
Yeah.
And he deserves it.
Yep.
Well, as we transition out into my favorite segment, if you're watching live here, you'll see me kind of do one of those Kermit the Frog with the coffees, one of those little sips, or with the tea, I believe. Because, it's who's been sneaky good. I guess we just named off 8 or 9 teams, but I guess we don't have enough teams to rank a top 25,
Taco King, coming to you from bright and sunny Fargo, North Dakota. It's time for a taco bet, and time for you losers to pay up.
Okay, Taco King, here we go. What's been great about the FCS Gold questions is it almost seems like one question equals a taco bet every week, and that is where we are with Dan. Actually, it's not Dan, it's Kyler Elliott. So Kyler Elliott says, Brown-Stein game this week. Who you got? Who you got for the Brown-Stein game? If you are unaware of what this game is, for all our live viewers, Vandals, Grizz. Here we go. Game prediction time. Winner for some tacos. Jamie Williams, what do you think?
Well, I guess Brian does have to get tacos because nobody will meet him at Buffalo Wild Wings. So might as well go get some tacos.
Oh man, that's coming up in quick hits.
So yeah, go one more down too to get the taco bet pulled into there on the banner.
There you go.
There you go. We're live. We're live and in charge here.
Yep.
All right. So this game, Idaho at Montana, I guess between a couple of really good football teams. I've been impressed with Montana in their couple of games. I get it. They played Central Washington. Well, it doesn't matter. Good comeback against North Dakota. Easy game against Indiana State this past week, but they made it easy. Idaho, 2 near losses to FBS teams, and did what they needed to do, and a couple others. I just think that Montana's going to have enough here. As much as I hate it, I'd love to see Idaho go in there and win because everybody calls me a Montana hater, so I might as well lean into it. Even though that's not overall true now that my team's not in the FCS anymore. I like what Montana's got. And dare I say, Kiali Ayat has looked pretty good since the second half of the North Dakota game. I mean, if you're going to trash a guy when he's bad, you got to give him credit when he's good. And he has been. And if he can do that again against a really good Idaho defense, I think Montana wins this game pretty close. I think we're looking at a touchdown game. I just haven't been quite as impressed with Josh Wood as I have Ayat, and it's weird to say that. But what the other thing that Montana has that Idaho doesn't is Eli Gilman. So yeah, Montana by maybe 1 score.
Talk about an X factor. Yeah, I'll take 10 points. I'll go a little bit more than 10 points. I'll go 28-17. I like Montana. In Montana, the way Idaho has been playing. So give me the Grizz. Rev, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Jamie's already hit all the points. And there's just been some inconsistency, I feel, with Idaho, and not to mention, the fact that they rep the Fighting Taters when they don't even grow potatoes and up there, just terrible. That's just bad juju. No, the fact that it's at Walgriz, the fact that it's a rivalry game, and the fact that the Montana fans will get up, I think it's a 10 to 14 point game for Montana. So I think 28-14 and 28-18, 17, you can't do 18, 28-17 is probably the realm of where this game ends.
Sorry, Chris Hammond, Brown Stein. We're thinking it's going to be going to the Grizz.
Just because your question is answered quickly doesn't mean we don't care. It's time for this week's quick hit questions.
We got a live comment here, Rev. Who's the cap? That's the question. What is this hat you're wearing tonight?
Well, it's a lovely hat of the newest team in the Southland Conference, the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros. So I'm not going to go V's up, though. Sorry, they're in my conference. They've got enough. I've been nice enough about them. Now it's time to have real talk about them. But yeah, it's probably one of the best logos. And if you go look at their helmets, their script Vaqueros helmet is probably one of the sickest helmets in FCS.
Very cool, man. It actually, yeah, the logo is pretty cool. Quick hit questions, gents. We're right into them. And we're going to start right away with Taco King. And he says, how hurt was Taco King eating at Buffalo Wild Wings alone this past Thursday? Context of the story. Taco King, with a kind heart, basically purchased toys for my 3 boys for free, just as a friend, and said, let's meet up for lunch. And I scheduled it for a Thursday last week, and I completely forgot. He called me driving on the way there. And so this Tuesday we'll be getting food. Now, if I know Taco King, last Thursday, I'm sure he was going to just drop a card down, and there was no way I was going to pay for that meal. But now there's no way he's not going to pay, or there's no way I'm not going to pay because I owe him since I made him drive twice for lunch on Tuesday. So sorry, King.
So what do you think hurt worse? His feelings that you didn't show up, or his GI after having Buffalo Wild Wings, knowing him and knowing what he wanted to put on there? Because I'm betting it's the latter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think we hit the taco heart there on that one. I'm looking forward to Tuesday, buddy. We'll see you there. Seth Meyer, what are your way too early reactions of the Ivy League after they finally took the field this week? What do you think, Jamie? Ivy League's out there.
I was pretty impressed with a couple of teams. Obviously, Harvard played Stetson, so you can't learn a ton about that. But they did what they needed to do. Impressed with Yale. Really impressed with Yale. They look really good. Dartmouth, again, looked good against New Hampshire, which a team that I think they had snuck into the top 25. Not mine quite yet, but maybe they were in mine. I don't even know. New Hampshire, it's just like their stadium. I forget about it. But the Ivy had a nice performance. I mean, Columbia's lost to Lafayette. I'm scrolling it here. Brown shuts out Georgetown. Who cares? Yale hammered Holy Cross. A Holy Cross team that just played Rhode Island at 9-7 loss, and Yale beats them 28-10. So if you want to play, the transitional property of college football, which I generally don't because styles matter, the top of the Ivy League was pretty good. But then you had Cornell that lost to Albany, who also lost to Stonehill and New Haven. So Cornell, we know they stink. But Dartmouth, Yale, Harvard, all pretty good teams.
Cornell, oh man, the office. Andy is rolling in his grave right now. Zach says, did NAU end Incarnate Word's playoff hopes, barring a win out and clinch the Southland scenario? Not Kyler. What do you think?
Yes. So I would say 95% yes. They did. Here's why. So don't forget, Incarnate Word already has a conference loss. They lost to Nichols. So already down a game. So what they need is Nichols, one, to lose twice in conference, which could happen. They have to run through conference. And I don't see all those things happening. And especially because I think they're going to struggle with a team like Lamar. They're going to, Colson is what Incarnate Word needed at quarterback. He looked a lot better than Richard Torres, but Nichols just has to skate by through the conference. They can take a loss, and they would, if in theory, if they were the one loss team and Incarnate Word was the one loss team, Nichols would have the tiebreaker. They would get the auto qualifier, right? So I would say it's 95% done, barring a miracle. But hey, they are a Catholic school. Stuff happens.
Just takes one prayer up top.
Takes one prayer.
Dan says, does anyone else feel like NDSU is just slowly, unceremoniously marching towards another natty, or is that just me? I'll say this, Dan, as a Bison perspective. If they spank USD and Illinois State and then happen to win the marker, the Bison fans at that point, I think FCS fans at that point are going to be like, there's probably no hope, right? That I hate to answer that question like that, to be like, oh, let's just see if they beat some of the best teams before we call it. But honestly, aren't we all non-Bison fans thinking right now, well, they could lose the marker and maybe they look bad against UND and that gives one other team a sliver? Like, that's how you think about the Bison. So hold and pause, but right now they do look good. We do need to see them against some better competition. This week could change a lot of narrative if that USD game is really close, right? So we'll see. Chase says, would understand if you don't use this one because it's half FCS, half FBS, but is there a state worse than the entire state of Arkansas in Division I football this year? All four teams are just abysmal to watch. Okay, so I'm not a lower tier FBS concentrator. So I guess I got to go to you, Jamie, because
you just insulted my entire damn conference.
I know. I'm sorry.
The Arkansas team there is in the Sun Belt. Of course, they don't have to play
they're
us.
They're not the CUSA.
Yeah. What do you think? Are they the worst? Is Arkansas the worst?
Every single team in there is horrible. Pine Bluff, I mean, they've been not good for years. Central Arkansas, see you, Nathan Brown. I mean, it's got to happen this year, right? I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, I know Will loves the guy, and I'm sure he's a great guy, but great goodness, they're terrible. Arkansas blew a massive lead to Memphis. Arkansas State lost to Kennesaw. I mean, Arkansas State's terrible. They've been terrible. They got a good quarterback too. I just don't get it. That's it. I think he's right. The state of Arkansas in football is not good, and I know Chase is a Central Arkansas fan, and he finally said he isn't employed there. I think he said anymore, left there, so he can actually be more of a homer. And he doesn't have anything to be a homer about.
Yeah, that is sad. He's a good guy too. Kyler
Yes.
Elliott says, not a question, but I will be attending the Eastern Washington at Montana State game. Then I hop in a car and I race to Missoula for the Idaho at Grizz game.
Props.
First off, that's freaking awesome, Kyler. Like, that is why we consider Kyler Elliott cool, fun Kyler, because he does things like that. I'm going to go around the horn just quick, simple yes or no. If it's a yes, I want to know the story. I'm a no. Have you ever watched a college football game and then gone live to a second one like you are our good friend who goes to all the stadiums, Michael? Jamie, you ever done that?
I have not done it for football, but I have done a hockey game, NHL hockey game, and a Major League Baseball game in the same day. Day game hockey, night game baseball on a Saturday. So I've done that in the same city, so it was really easy. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty cool that he's going to do that. Sorry that he's got to spend that much time in the state of Montana, but you know.
Not Kyler. You ever do something like that?
No, not like that. That's insane. Just awesome. But while I'm here real quick, I want to shout out Division II Arkansas football because you got Harding, who's 3-0. I've got to say something nice about the state my mother was born in. So there you go. But no, I haven't done something like that. I should. It's hard to do it here unless you're going to a game in Houston and then driving to like San Marcos or even Nacogdoches. But like the travel time's nuts. But you know, maybe one day, maybe I'll be like Mike and do it.
I was about this close from joining Barker at Utah Tech in Southern Utah this year. I don't think I'm gonna pull it off.
If he comes, I know there are some Texas games on his map, and if he can make them, I'm gonna try to go make one of them with him. Yeah,
that's what he does is insane. Zach says, does UTRGV deserve the hype? And do you think that hype continues when they enter FCS play, or will they crash down to earth, Mr. Rev? What do you think?
No, they've only played one team that is a Division I team, and that is Prairie View, and they look good against Prairie View. But they played Sol Ross, who, like I said earlier, absolute mess of administration. They played Texas Wesleyan, which is a school that most of y'all don't know who they are, but they're in Fort Worth, Texas. And then they played Langston University, who is a HBCU. But one of my buddies from high school played college football there. So no, and it's great that they are undefeated right now. It's great that they get the fan support. All of that is awesome. I think that's wonderful. But let's kind of have a dose of reality here. It's like that guy on Twitter who told me last night that Presbyterian should be the #1 ranked team in FCS because they're 4-0. Like, drugs are bad, okay?
It wasn't Coach Steve, was it?
It wasn't Coach Steve. Coach Steve,
because he's a clown.
And he blocked me anyway. He
Clown.
blocked me anyway. But no, because they're not going to go through the Southland unscathed because it's going to be a higher level of competition there. So I think, like I said, think it's wonderful. I think it's awesome. I think in a few years they are going to be a force in the FCS because they are in a recruiting heartland that no one else can really touch. And they're going to have the fan support. They have the stadium. They have the money behind them. So it's awesome. It's awesome. But let's temper our expectations and look at who they've actually played before we go, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because they're not.
Love the transition. They're going to be a great team, fun one. But yeah, pump the brakes on them a little bit. Yeah. Noah says from FCS Gold, Sac State slid in the polls from struggling with Mercyhurst. Does Montana State drop as well, or will Mercyhurst be seen as a tough NEC opponent? The big thing there is, unfortunately, history and everything else works against Sac State. They also did not look good prior to that. Montana State, for sure, is not going to drop. And Mercyhurst, yeah, probably seen as a tougher NEC opponent throughout the conference than what we thought, but there's just no way Montana State's going to drop. Maybe one voter puts them at 4, or 4 or 5, I guess. Jamie?
All right. So you're right. Montana State's not going to drop because they won a game. But why is that? Slot voting. You know where Montana State's going to drop? On my poll. Because they're not going to be the #4 team. It's going to be the team in Missoula. Sorry. I get that they shut them out. And I haven't seen enough from Montana State. And I probably should have dropped them a little bit further before this. And I'm not talking that they should be the 11 or 12 team like some people were trying to tell me after being 0-2, because that was just a clown comment. But Montana had beat their ranked team. They came into their building. And they hammered the other Valley team. I mean, I get India State, a Valley team. They hammered that team, and Montana State did what they needed to do against Mercyhurst. They slogged the game down. But Montana looks better than Montana State. My ballot's going to reflect it. I could actually make the argument that Idaho looks better than Montana State. And that might reflect in my ballot. So are they the number 6 team?
Right.
They might be my number 6 team. Because
Wow.
I think once you get past that, then you're looking at the Illinois State, the Rhode Island, the Lehigh, those kind of teams. But I mean, maybe Tennessee Tech passes them. Probably not quite yet. I'm not going to be that bold, I don't think. But they're going to drop on my ballot. But you're right, Matt. They won't drop on the poll because everybody's going to say, "Oh, they won. You got to leave them right there because they got to keep them in their damn slot." And I think it's been great to see folks like Zach and Sam being a little bit more outspoken about how the poll looks. When I'm talking about the poll, I'm talking about the stats poll because you don't know who voted where. If you want to know who votes where, Red Shirt Sports has a wonderful poll that Rev and I both vote in, and James has done an awesome job at trying to get a good cross-section of voters. And admittedly, there are a couple of bad ballots, one of which probably won't be in there anymore because you come at the goat, you get slaughtered. That got handled. But, take a really good look at Redshirt Sports because every voter's ballot is there every time. Accountability, whether you agree with it or not. And again, you can disagree as long as that person can defend their ballot. If you can defend for me why you think Harvard is a number 6 team and I can buy it, sure, put them there. But if you're just spouting stuff like Long Island's a 15 team in the country or stuff like that, then I don't have much time for that because you can't give me a good reason.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my little soapbox about polls. I mean, the stats perform, it's not as bad as it has been, but there's still been issues, and I'd like to see people calling out accountability, and I think that's fair. A few weeks ago, I gave Craig credit that I believe deserves because he turned the floor to Zach and said, "Tell me your thoughts," and that's not really something I had seen a lot from Craig before, so I appreciated that. And I just want people to go look at Redshirt as well. James is building something really cool there, and he does a good job with the portal transferring. The transfer portal, good grief, it's 10 o'clock.
Good grief. Yeah.
He does a good job there too. So yeah, just take all the polls for what they are. They don't mean anything to the committee, but they kind of tell you who the teams are and where they slot in overall, and they're pretty good.
I just want to point out something real quick, Jamie, because you took my thing about slot shaming. You just said that the stats poll is better. The stats poll had goddamn Incarnate Word ranked at 14th. They said that them losing to Northern Arizona was an upset because Northern Arizona was ranked 19th. Yeah, no, that poll is still a mess. Okay, so it's still not good because you have,
but it's better.
It's not.
It's a little bit better.
You have 70% of the voters who are so busy doing their jobs within the conference that they're just going in and scanning
100%
box scores. That's 100%. What you have. That's exactly what you have in that poll. And 100%. Also, too, as someone who does vote in the Redshirt Sports Poll, I will put mine out. I put mine out on Twitter. He does put it out on the site. But all y'all are watching this. Let's debate. If you tell me if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong because I'm not Jamie Williams. I'm not the GOAT at doing this.
Look, there are still issues with that poll. You can't have some of the things that you have, but I do. If you take it in pockets, it's better than it has been in the past, and that doesn't have to be saying much in people's opinion. Mm-hmm. It's better, but it's got a long way to go. And I think people like Sam and Zach using their platform to do what they've been doing is going to do nothing but make that hopefully better in the future as people really start to consider. And maybe they won't. Maybe you're going to still get the slot voters because you work for a conference and that sucks. Yeah. But yeah, check out Redshirt.
I'll say the United Athletic Conference references Redshirt in their stuff.
Finally.
Yeah, so they're in there. I know there's other conferences that have been talked to about it, saying, "Hey, just add this one in as well as a metric." So hopefully it keeps going, because it tends to be a much, in my opinion, more accurate poll, because you've got folks who are paying attention and watching it, and not just doing this because of what it is. So Cap Dan, to your point, this is what makes Redshirt special, because everybody's ballot is public. You can see it, and you can have the discussions. Some people won't do it. They get all, they start pearl clutching whenever they have to have the discussion. But yeah, this is where, folks like me went nuts last year at Stats and got blocked by them on social media. Poll is a joke. So
crazy stuff. We will see how those things are going to affect seeding, and they definitely can. So those polls do matter. Michael O says, how will Ivy League playoff bids work? Could they get more than one in the field? It's strange to me that teams that schedule cupcakes and play 3 less games than everyone else get an auto bid. They definitely are going to get one in the field because of the auto bid, as you already stated, Michael. I don't see them having the strength or teams this year to have a second bid. So Ivy League going to be one bid league, and that's just the nature of the beast. It's kind of like people are pretty upset that the MEAC and that the SWAC don't send their best to the playoffs, but those conferences choose to do so, and they're not going to make the Ivy League change anything in terms of their games, their schedules at this point. So last 2 fun ones here. Kyler Elliott says, what would be your beverage to drink out of the Little Brown Stein? Oh, this is a good one. All right, not Kyler. What would you be drinking out of that sucker if your team was victorious in it?
Beer. It's a Stein.
Which beer?
Whoever wants to pay me and say their beer brand. That's who I would drink,
Oh, that's good.
No, but beer. It's a Stein. Put some beer in there. Enjoy it. You won. Celebrate the good beer.
That's not too bad. What do you think, Jamie? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, there's only one thing you drink out of a Stein. And as much as you'd love to throw a margarita in there, you got to throw some beer in there. I mean, you got to. That's what you drink out of a Stein.
I would absolutely. Okay, I have to agree with you. Since it is a Stein, you have to. No, screw that. You know what you drink out of there? That's what you drink out of a Stein. I tell you what, if your team's victorious. Okay, final one here. Jamie, you're going to love this to end the pod tonight. Steven goes, NHL preseason starts today. Do you have a team? He says, go Kraken. I know that's not football. I do know that is Seattle's new team. All right, Jamie, your time to shine, buddy. I know you love hockey.
Am I an NHL fan? You are looking at a long-time season ticket holder for your Washington Capitals. I have seen so many of the 897 Alex Ovechkin record goals live and in person, and it's been a wonderful thing to watch that guy's career develop from a kid to now a 40-year-old. He turned 40 this past year. I was at Game 3 of the 18 Cup final, and it was one of the coolest sports moments for me. So yeah, massive hockey fan, massive Capitals fan. Go Caps, go Ovi, screw the Pens.
Not Kyler. What do you think there, Rev? You got a team?
I do. Dallas Stars. They are my team. I know all the Bison fans are going to love it, but Dallas Stars. That's my team.
I'm not much of a hockey watcher guy. I was in a work season ticket holding group for 2 years for the Minnesota Wild. So everybody paid in. So we had the same 2 seats and we drew for games. So went to 3 or 4 games through that. Really enjoyed them. Fun atmosphere. But to say I would have a consistent hockey team would be inaccurate. And I don't want to just fake the funk for the great hockey fans like Jamie Williams. All right, gents, that brings us to the end of the FCS Fans Nation podcast. We're dropping more of these live through FCS Gold and others. So even to have 50 people, we don't really announce that it's going to be live. To have 50 people on here commenting, enjoying it. The greatest YouTube commenter and human on earth, Ron Lowney, is always with us. If Ron's not there, I don't really honestly want to even do the podcast if it's live. So we appreciate him and everybody else joining us. Reminder, FCS Gold, if you want this episode ad-free on repeat beyond a live version all week, audio and video. It's available through FCS Gold, only 99 cents a month. Link is in the YouTube description below. or you can find that on Patreon. Besides that, we are heading into conference play. And Rev, I really want to thank you for making the time last second to hop on. I'm going to give you the floor to send her out, and you can boom it, and we will move on to conference play, my man. What do you got?
Yeah, always glad to come in and be Kyler for y'all, and hope everybody keeps enjoying the season. It's been fun so far. It should keep being fun. Most importantly, go like all the FCS content you can, because that helps everything out. And yeah, be good to each other. That's it. Boom.